Good day guys, thanks for tuning in. It's me, Nate, and we're back today with a BMS 4.33 video. I've just been looking at the analytics for my channel, and it turns out that the Tornado is very popular. In comparison to the Make 29 video I did much later on, the Tornado video has hit thousands of views within a few days, so I guess this is what we're getting now. We're getting more Tornado stuff. So I got a friend of mine to make a map. The default maps only have the Tornado IDS, the Luftwaffe one, in one of the air bases here down south, on Iron Fortress, which I think is a not as good map as the default Rolling Fire. So I asked a friend of mine to go make and mod the default campaign, and he sent me a save file with the Tornado on Rolling Fortress, Rolling Fire, and I've now got the GR4 and the ADV listed as Seal Sign Air Base. This I think is a much better setup. It's a more intense action. Day one of the war is very interesting. It's just much more intense and kind of cool. The GR4 is an RAF GR4 with 2 skins, and the ADV is an RAF ADV with 1 skin. I'll just quickly load up the campaign so that you guys see what I've got and see what I've learned so far in the 2 weeks of me playing. Alright guys, so we're day 1 of the campaign. This is day 1 of the war, and we've got the Tornado GR4. I'll quickly show you what it's got. Oh, not the briefing. Show you what it's got here. The GR4 with 2 skins. 1 skin here, the grey skin there. So, I think the grey is a bit better than the blue, but we'll just go with the grey. Like the IDS, it has an ECM pod and a jam pod. The ECM pod is over here. The jam pod's over. The chaff flare pod's over here. It can carry up to 9 alarms. Now, it doesn't have the HTS, so it will only be able to fire the alarms with harm as sensor, HAS mode, or pre-planned POS. So those are the only 2 ways it's going to fire. So these things are not going to be accurate a lot of the time. In fact, a lot of the time it's going to be really kind of luck what you hit. I mean, I probably get maybe 30%, and I think you can probably get a bit more if you do a lot more pre-planning with SAM ranges on your HSD. There's a lot of new stuff you can make this stuff more accurate. So if you learn how to use the SDR and the HSD to put input SAM threat ranges, you can kind of gauge how far you're from the SAM, because the harm as sensor doesn't give you a distance, it just gives you a bearing, so you're firing off the harm missiles at a direction rather than kind of aiming them. Kraus and some other channels will have videos on how to use these things more accurately, so I'm not going to spend my time telling you what's already been told many times. But it can carry a lot of these, and I think 2 of these escorted will do a lot of damage, or at least be very dangerous to SAMs, and they're quite threatening. It's got only ASRAMs, which, as far as I'm able to decipher from the game, like in-game, they're just better Sidewinders. Real life, different obviously, but in the game, they're just Sidewinders. They give you the same tone, they function the same way, no big difference. So it doesn't really matter which one you bring. I think they're better than the 9M, which you get, so I just bring lots of ASRAMs. That's all it's got. It does have a functioning air-to-air radar, so you can lock stuff up. So, it's got that going for it. Air to ground is where you're spending a lot of your time. It's got alarms, it's got brimstones, it can carry a lot of brimstones. My wingman Eclipse, has been learning how to use these, and to his great frustration we're having some problems. Not sure if it's because the brimstones are not working as well as intended, but at the moment you can only fire them directly ahead of you, maybe between the 1 and 11 o'clock. So anything that's not directly ahead, it won't. It has very little off-bore, which makes sense. I don't imagine them having much off-bore ability, but firing these tends to be a bit of a frustration. They are basically Mavericks. They function just like Mavericks, as far as I'm aware. So if you want to learn how to fire Brimstone, you just got to learn how to fire the Maverick. But you can carry 12 of these, but because you have to fire them dead ahead of you, and you have to bore sight each one of them, this can be time-consuming and a rather frustrating weapon to use. I often tend to use the GBUs, which, without having to bore sight bore sight them and sight them accurately, significantly easier to use. Whole range of GBUs you can see here, and of course a whole bunch of Mark 82s. And Mark 84s, and of course Storm Shadow. The Storm Shadow, I believe, works just like the JSAW does, I believe. So you need to learn how to use that. But really nothing special about the Tornadoes so far, other than obviously the Cockpit and Brimstones. You carry a lot of Brimstones. It is quite fast. Low level, it's very fast and handles quite well. That's particularly enjoyable, using the Mark 84s and just doing a low-level pop-up attack and dive toss attack. Very, very cool. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is an F-16 in disguise with a Tornado flight model. It's reasonably agile, so it's all right. As far as that's concerned, really not much else to it. I would just jump in the cockpit now and go over some very, very basic procedures. I do have a cockpit diagram which was not included in the basic BMS file. Oops, sorry, touched the pen. So if you guys want that, I will definitely put that up there. Or if you've been on the BMS forums already, the Benchmark Sims forum, it's also available there. Anyways, I'm just going to go load up something and jump in the cockpit and show you a quick, not going to show the startup, but I will show you the... Alright guys, well this is the cockpit. As you've seen this before, I've been a bit more familiar with it now, so I can give you a bit more of an informed opinion. The DED at the back is in a very annoying position. If you have phase track like I do inaccurate, this is very difficult to do. So I often use the hotkey keys. So I use for the takeoff, I'm just go F1 for the frequency, and I use number pad number 15 for the tower, and I'll just get crest taxi. Anyways, I haven't tuned it in, so it's not a big problem. But if you want to use your laser arm, in case you want to do it, go to the menu, use the black switch. Oh god, this is going to be frustrating to deal with. Black switch for the menu, 0 to toggle between the menus, laser, and this little switch here is the up-down. And let's turn that on, and then go back, and then right-click the fix to go back. It's the fix key is the quote-unquote return key. The flap keys are here, so flap up is the inside one, flap down is the outside one. Let's turn off the nose wheel steering. What I'm going to do is just do a quick takeoff demonstration, which is basically just taking off. And the optimal climb, for anyone interested, is like 375 knots. But let's just floor it. I'll do a quick fencing check to demonstrate where everything is. And we've got my little fence-in notes here in front of me, so I can read it off on my checklist. It's a very slow aircraft to accelerate, as you can see. Rotate about 180, 200-ish. And rotate. Alright, gears up. Get your handles there. Alright, so you see on the top right, gears are flaps are at 20 degrees, so let's get those up. You need to click it twice for each stage. There's a couple of set stages, I believe it's 8, 15, 25, and 35 degrees. Don't quote me on that, but it definitely has multiple stages. So let's just head north and then quickly fence in. Come on, north. Oh, we'll just head to the northwest, so we don't get shot down so quickly. I believe this aircraft is kind of fenced in by default if you just sign out on the runway, but just for purposes go again. Right, so master arm on, master arm up there. Radar is on, which it is because you did it in startup. Chaff flare program. Now, chaff flare, you see that's if it pops out, it's disengaged. So let's engage that back in. So chaff flare, it's labeled. So chaff flare engage. I use program 3 for my emergency programs. So there's your programs 1 through 4. RWR is on. You can see it's on by default. And laser is over here at the very bottom. And the volume switches for your radios. Make sure I'm not in the descend. The volume switches for the radios are these two. These two here. L1, COM2. And then your missile warning and your RWR warning are these two here. Click to left click, right click to turn them up and down. Your lasers down here. Your TGP. These are just F-16 MFDs. There's no surprise here. If you want to set up your TGP, do it as you would an F-16. Bear in mind, again, this is an F-16 in disguise. And the Cat 1 Category 2 switch is this one below. The second one on this line here is FD. So that this engages Cat 2. Oh, sorry, Cat 3. Cat 1, sorry. But it's Cat 3 by default. So no surprise. Oops. That's letting you know you've changed categories. That's kind of it. Oh, and sorry, the ECM. ECM's over here. When you turn this switch here, it will go ECM on this little panel. And now you're all ready to go. And the wings are sweeping back. You can hear them sweeping back because we're going quite fast. That's it. And now you're good to go. This panel does exactly what it says, which is changes your radio to barometric for the altimeter, magnetic, true degrees, Mach speed, calibrated airspeed, brightness. Everything here does what it says it does. I don't believe there's any more surprises, as far as I'm able to tell. But that will get you going. So now you're combat ready. You're good to roll. not much else really. As I said, the only thing that bugs me is having the DED all the way back there and you can't see it. It's kind of a frustration. You're actually often not better off just turning off your track and just looking back there and doing it. I won't do any demonstrations for weapons here because again, it's no different than the F-16. And the only difference really, of course, is that you got no buttons on this one. What you want, if you want to click stuff, it's on the inside rather than the outside. The instruments all sort of work, and I say that hesitantly. This is quite nice. I do like having the HSI, like an older-fashioned HSI, which with little readings I can read clearer. The F-18 one is quite big, and there's a lot of spaces, quite difficult to do an accurate heading. This is your throttle setting. If I power up, it goes up. Power down, goes down. But it's not very accurate as far as the dials go. The fuel gauge is here, which gives you a fuel in pounds, like the F-16 does. You can see the fuel flow thing's reading 0, but they all kind of indicate your engines are working. The only thing that really bugs me the most is the fact that the landing gear is, well, it's not opposite. You know, my gears are up and it's suddenly locked with 3 greens. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or intentional, or unintentional. Sorry, because normally 3 greens is gear down and 3 reds is gear up, but the gears are up if I go external. You can see the gears up, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The emergency jettison is over here. That does work. Yeah, I got nothing else. I think that's really. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll try my best to answer you. I've got about 2 weeks in this thing now, so I've got about maybe 30-40 hours in it. It's not many, and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I do enjoy this a lot, and I'm flying it reasonably regularly to keep myself up to date with it. I will probably put the manual in. Not the manual, sorry. The checklist in the comments below. Not in the comments, sorry. In the more information thing below. You guys can have a look at that yourselves, and you guys can maybe get yourselves become experts. I will endeavor to learn the Brimstone and the Storm Shadow and get my hands on that a bit more effectively at some stage. Alright guys, well until next time, this is Nate out. If you have any more questions or any comments, just put them in the section below. I'll have a read. My channel's not that big, so I have time to read it. Alright guys, well, take care.